Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas and I have the pleasure of welcoming Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh to This Week with Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh. Namaste, Doctor, sir, welcome.
Namaskar.
Things are still making us more worrisome with respect to COVID. When you look at India, the mark of 49 lakh COVID affected people has been crossed. How do you see it is likely to play out? Do you think India need another lockdown?
No, India doesn't need another lockdown, but India needs that all the people should behave responsible way. Because right now, even India, there's a lot of people are gathering in large crowd. There's a lot of political gathering is happening. A lot of waiting is happening, and all those things has to be curtailed and strictly followed. That not more than X amount of people should be there. But I mean, I have seen even political leaders. They are hosting the meeting with the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, and most of them are not wearing masks, and they are not keeping the distance. So obviously that's going to spread, and that is the unfortunate part. There's no need to lock down, but need to follow the wearing the mask and keeping the distance. That's only way to bring everything under control till vaccine comes.
So that being the case, people not paying attention to the protocol, and as you are aware, the new parliamentary session began. There was mandatory COVID test. Over 30 MPs were found to be COVID positive, and more than 50 employees were COVID positive. That tells us that COVID is not sparing anyone. Anything else in terms of the initiatives of government with respect to having made it easy for people to have COVID test? And another angle that I want to bring to your attention, and as an active member of API and other organizations, India seems to be facing shortage of oxygen cylinders. Do you think there is a way to address that?
Yes, I mean to manufacture oxygen is relatively very easy thing. So I think the government should mandate those companies who are making oxygen cylinder should double up their production, and plus they should also start making the oxygen cylinders in the places where it is possible. Though even though it's probably manufacturing something else, just like when they were the car company, auto company manufacturing autos, but they can also manufacture the ventilator. Similar way, there are companies which makes other gases can manufacture the oxygen, and so government has to compulsory or mandate those companies to make the more oxygen cylinders.
So I think that's a good point, and probably there'll be some steps in that direction, because right now what one hears is excessive prices are being charged by the helpless consumers, and moving towards another important issue which has caught the attention of many Indians. Even here people are talking, and the case started with Sushant Singh Rajput, and in Rajya Sabha, Samajwadi MP and actress Jaya Bhaduri has criticized people for condemning film industry to be engrossed with drug use. You have some comments about this criticism from Jaya Bhaduri and telling people to abstain from blaming the whole film industry.
No, of course, you cannot blame whole film industries. You cannot generalize the whole thing, but we know that film industry is kind of rampantly kind of affected or involved in drug use, and particularly the younger generation actor and actresses. They are definitely not everyone, but a large number of actor and actresses are involved in drug use, and therefore, I think the criticism is justified in a sense. I mean, not a whole industry, but I mean, Bollywood is getting a really bad perception.
Talking about Bollywood and the media paying attention to minute details related to this case, where narcotics department is also playing an important role now, the question came from Supreme Court with respect to another case, and they have Supreme Court have asked media to observe self-regulation. How do you see this observation of Supreme Court uh, suggesting media to have some self-regulation?
Well, it means nothing. It means really the Supreme Court is kind of observation is kind of diplomatic observation, but our constitution gives the right to the media to represent or show the or criticize whatever is happening or show the happening of the events, and that's only way in democracy one can and as you can see classically in Sushant Singh case, when media was not involved, everything was kind of brushed aside, and once media was involved, a whole thing came out in the light, and I think there's nothing wrong in it. Media should be independently should work and should able to present uh, uh, let people know that what is right and what is wrong. That's only way in democracy people will know.
And this observation of Supreme Court came in the context of an issue raised against Sudarshan TV, and I quote, Supreme Court said, big, the way it was promoted, the program was big expose on conspiracy of to infiltrate Muslims in government service. So Supreme Court denied Sudarshan TV to show 2 episodes of this program, and they say this is putting a question mark on UPSC. And but the Sudarshan TV was saying that this is investigative reporting. How do you see these two different
Well, I
viewpoints?
mean, it's very fine line, and Supreme Court is right in a way that, of course, media has a fundamental right to express themselves the way they want or they would like to do, as long as it's a fact. It's a facts, not the rumors or not the kind of unnecessary allegation on someone. But again, the media should also use their judgment to see what is more offending to the community and what is right or wrong. As long as they restrain themselves about right and wrong thing, then I think media should not have any restriction about expressing themselves the way they want to.
Absolutely. Talking about media and moving towards social media and potential role that social media is likely to play or can play in affecting political oriented views. In India also this question came, we talked about it earlier also, but this seems to be an ongoing thing wherever election is near, one or the other party goes, and uh, officials from Facebook were also asked to appear before a committee. So, talk to me about your views on any possibility of regulating social media.
Well, I mean, social media should regulate. We should regulate somewhat, because you cannot have any media without any regulations. So it is a good idea to regulate the social media, but to what extent we don't know. And because nowadays, if I mean, influence of the social media is so big that regulation is important, because that's only way one can prevent any wrong or any fake news on social media.
There is another issue, Dr. Sam, which relates to imposing certain ideas and responding to someone having shared some WhatsApp message or even having forwarded. So recently you must have heard about a case where Shiv Sainik or Shiv Sena people uh, ended up beating one ex-Navy personnel for having forwarded a message which was critical of CM Uddhav Thackeray.
I think that's not acceptable. It's a kind of gundagiri, kind of, you know. So anyone has right to forward any message as long as its message are real, factual, and it's not offending to any other party or any other person.
So, the response of Shiv Sena spokesperson was that they didn't inform the leadership before going out there. So that kind of excuse is doesn't sit well with people.
That's
Eh,
right. I mean, it gives very bad name or bad optics to Shiv Sena. It looks like they are kind of doing kind of gundagiri, you know, and which is not acceptable.
right.
And
And very briefly touching upon the way actress Kangana Ranaut's office space was bulldozed by Shiv Sena post that event, there is a lot of political activity. Now people are looking at it as a political affair, whereas it originally is a law and order question. How do you see this trend where you go beyond the facts and start politicizing everything?
well, I mean, that's the fact of the life, and so you can't help. So everyone is going to interpret it or take advantage of the way they like or they like to interpret, and so you cannot avoid that politics. But of course, wise people can understand all this thing and can interpret appropriately. But unfortunately, you cannot avoid this kind of polarization of the any event or any facts.
And before we conclude today, I want to bring you back to USA, and we are in sort of exciting phase. Few weeks left for US presidential election. How do you see the pulse of the people at the moment with respect to Trump versus Biden?
Well, I mean, probably it's very close election, and it will be decided by one or two state where whoever wins there. But again, it's very close election, and both party has its own agenda, how or own kind of blueprint how to win the election. What Trump is trying to do is trying to hold on to his solid base, plus discourage the other left-leaning people not to vote for Biden by showing the negative things about Biden. So that's his way of doing. While Biden real way of doing is to just criticize the last 4 years of Trump administration. So let's see. Time will tell which policy works or which agenda works.
Absolutely. And your parting words from today's this week show for our viewers.
Well, dear friends, please remember the COVID is still there, and so please wear the mask when you go out in the public. Keep distance, keep personal hygiene, and stay safe and stay healthy. We'll see you next week. Goodbye. God bless America. God bless India. Thank you.